personal training certification at Cooper Institute back 25 years ago, and then went on to get my ACE certification after that. I went and studied health and wellness coaching, became national board certified, and then been doing years of training in fascial stretch therapy in Phoenix, Arizona, and have since become advanced to level 3 fascial stretch therapist. So with those 3 certifications, I have the body, which is strength, I have the range of motion, the flexibility of the body, but something was still missing, and that was the spirit. So the last few years I've been doing energy work. And I put that in with my fascial stretch therapy. So I do muscle testing, I take out my pendulum, and we release chakras and other energies that people have embedded in the body. If you, The Body Keeps Score is a real good book, you guys, to kind of get an idea about how trauma stays in your body, not just physically, but emotionally as well. So today I would like to talk to you mostly about fascia. I have 20 minutes. There's a lot to talk about, and I picked fascia because it's a mystery to some. So what we're going to do is we're going to talk about what is fascia. We're going to talk about how that affects your body movement. We're going to talk about how fascia causes pain and how to keep your fascia healthy. Then later on, I'm gonna tell you what I do as a fascial stretch therapist, what it looks like when you come into my studio. So, and then if we have time, I would love to talk to you about more energy work. And I'm located right over there in the fascial stretch therapy. It's Fit for You is my discipline, is called that. Okay, so what is fascia? What is fascia? Fascia is a network of tissue that covers everything and binds the body so you can move freely. It's an organ in itself. It has 3 layers. The first layer of is called the superficial, and it resides just underneath your skin. Then we can go a little deeper, and that's the tissue. The fascia wraps around the organs, and it covers every muscle in your body. It covers every nerve, every tendon, and it's just. If you think of when I think of fascia, I think of a web like a intricate spider web that just covers your whole body, and it has its own communication system. So when it's covered with muscle, and the muscle's covered, muscles they're on top of one another. So if you didn't have that fascia, they would glue together. But that fascia is around the muscle, so what happens is that the muscles are able to work independently from one another and actually work as one unit at the same time, which is a really cool thing. So fascia is also attached to organs. And so the organs is actually, so if you think about it, those 3 layers, the fascia system covers all the way from your organs to the skin. When we talk about those 3 layers, together it's called myofascia. Myo means muscle and fascia. If you hear somebody talking about neuromyofascia, that's just nerves, muscle, and fascia. So the fascia is made mostly of collagen, and also it's like a tendon-like material in the fact that fascia doesn't have a big blood supply like a tendon. So fascia takes a long time to heal, so when you injure it, you can't speed it up. It just has to take a while to heal. Now fascia is multi-layered and it is between layers and that's what helps you guys glide smoothly. If you don't have that layer, that liquid layer between your fascia, painful knots or trigger points can arise. And if you ever had a little lump under your skin and you want to touch it, a lot of us have them on our calves, you'll know what a trigger point is. The fascia also covers nerves. So when subjected to stress, the surrounding sheath can adhere to skin, muscles, and joints. So that's very painful. So therefore, when you go to move your body, nerves are really, really pissy. They get angry if you attack them too much. But with gentle stretching, we can help put those nerves back on the track. Because when you move, if those nerves get out the track and they're being tugged with your other muscles, they don't like that. So if you have pain from nerves, that really takes especially a little longer. Fascia, just regular fascia adheres too. So like say you're taking a trip to Florida, you're in the car for 3 or 4 hours. You're feeling great, right? But as soon as you go to get out of that car, you might have a little pain in your hip or a little pain in your knee. And then you're walking out here like this, and you go, I didn't know I had that pain in that knee. And by the time you're crunched over, by the time you get to the restroom or inside the gas station, you're up, you're moving around, you're freely moving. The fascia becomes unglued. It just gets stuck. But let's go back to that little spider-like web. So what that does is it lays little layers of fascia on there. So that's what you're feeling is when you're breaking up and you're moving that fascia around. You're actually breaking that tissue and releasing the fascia. So let's talk about what causes fascia pain. Immobility, that causes fascia pain. And then let's take another example of that. Fascia can really glue down. Like say you have a sedentary job. You go into the office and you're sitting there for 8 hours. You go home or get in your car. You drive it in your car, and then you go home. You're in your kitchen, stand there for a little while. Go sit in front of the TV set. You're going to get a lot more glued, especially if you're doing that day after day, hour, week after week, month after month. It's going to take a little longer to break that tissue up, and it's going to be a little bit more painful to get through it. Surgeries, scars cause fascia pain, and tattoos are a little form of scars. So what scars do is it impedes the communication of the fascia. It has to be broken up. It has to be released. So you do that with massage or gentle stretching as well. Improper muscle usage. So if you have an injury, you had a little injury in your knee, let's say, you go in, you start babying that, you start walking differently. So now you start using different muscles instead of using the muscles that you are already using. That can lead to fascia pain because you're not moving that muscle. Poor posture. So let's go from the little fascia breaking up or being glued in from being in the car, the office worker that's been sitting in there. Now let's say that you were doing that year after year, you're sitting in the office, and you are sitting in the office, your head is getting heavy, you're slumping over. Well, what happens with that is your head weighs 8 to 10 pounds. Some people, their head's smaller. But for every inch that ear goes over the shoulder is another 10 pounds of pressure. So that's 18 pounds of pressure on the cervical spine. You've got 28 pounds of pressure, so your head gets really heavy. So what the body does, it wants to heal itself. So what it'll do is it'll lay calcium on the cervical spine, and that you cannot break up. That is there to stay, and that is very, very painful. Weak back muscles, overstretched, weak back muscles, overstretched chest muscles. The body has to have a balanced muscle group. So that will cause pain too because your tight muscles are not getting the full range of motion that it's supposed to have. How do you keep your fascia healthy? I didn't stop my time. How do you keep your fascia healthy? Movement. We just talked about that. So think about that every time. People are moving. So think about that every time that you move, you're breaking up that fascia tissue. You're releasing it. So I always think about that spider web thing. And so think about you. Look behind your shoulder. Reach for something really tall. Dance. Turn on that music. We used to dance a lot. We don't dance anymore. Some people do. I do. I don't know. I don't know what happened. But Take the stairs. And here's another one that's really, that I think that causes a lot of knee and hip problems, are people that don't walk properly, especially now when it's slippery. They're not, people aren't bending their ankles, they're not pulling their toes, they're not dorsiflexing. So it bypasses all the muscles that God gave you. You're not using hip flexors, you're not using your glutes, you're bypassing those muscles. Stretching, that's what I do, and that's also what your animals do when they've been laying around. So when you ever see them when they get up for a nap, the first thing they do is they get up, they stretch before they do anything else, and then they shake a little bit, exclamation point on the stretch, you know, they do a little oscillation. So that's another way to break up that fascia tissue, and animals know to do that just naturally. Hydration. Very important to keep your body hydrated. Because remember we talked about that you have that water between the fascia. Water is also a great conductor of energy. So now your fascia system has so many nerves in it. Your skin has the highest amount of nerves, but your fascia system has the second amount of highest amount of nerves. So it really needs, and the fascia is a communication system. It talks to other fascia lines and talks to other parts of your body. So so you really need to keep hydrated. Strengthen those posterior muscles, because remember that's when you're strong, when you're standing upright, your muscles work properly. And then you can go to full range of motion. Breath. This is my favorite. Does anybody know why that makes your posture or your fascia healthy? No? When you take a big breath in, your rib cage expands. And it shrinks and expands. So remember we talked about fascia being deep inside in your organs. It helps break that fascia up inside. Also you have small muscles that are attached to your rib cage. Those need to be moving fluidly too. We have the heart, we have the lungs, all reside underneath our rib cage. So we need to make space for them. They actually need to have space. For some reason, we become shallow breathers and chest breathers, and I don't know how or when that happened, but you don't see a lot of movement. There's an exercise called crocodile breathing. So if you can visualize a crocodile and how they expand and they breathe, that's how they breathe. That's called crocodile breathing. It's actually using your diaphragm to expand the fascia. We've also become reverse breathers. So when you take a big breath in, let's take a big breath in, you can feel that expand, right? Some people will actually pull their belly button in when they breathe and push their belly button out when they exhale. If you have anxiety, just learning how to breathe properly will be sufficient in lessening your anxiety. I did some breathing exercises before I came up here, by the way. You know, my anxiety. Okay, so how much do we have left? I got 20 minutes left? So, pull me off the stage. Okay, so what does it look like when, what do I do as a fascial stretch therapist? I'm more than a fascial stretch therapist. I complete the whole body. So we look at, when you first come into my studio, we look at your body posture. We look at your body posture standing up. I look at your body posture laying on the table. And we do put the heating pad on the table, and we dim the lights, and we play some really nice music. Anything that I can do to get you in that parasympathetic nervous system. So by the time that people usually come to see me, they're all revved up. What anxiety and pain does is it shortens your muscle and puts everybody it puts you into flexion. and it's that fight or flight, that sympathetic nervous system. So when they come to me, they're all ready to fight me. I mean, before I even put them on the table. So we use breathing. We use breathing to relax people. I also have a microcurrent machine that I lay on just on the SCM muscle that helps people relax. You have a vagus nerve that runs from your brain down to your stomach, and just by sending a little microcurrent will really help people put them in the sympathetic nervous system. So we do a lot of assessing. What I call this is assisted stretching with meditation. Breathing is essential to be in stretch because remember we talked about nerves that get really pissy. So you want to coax them out. So we really want you to get your breathing into that sympathetic nervous system. Also, what I did is I put a new addition in my studio. I put a mirror up there above my table. So, and I do that for a few reasons. The first one is people say they lose their sense of space when I move them around. So I put a mirror up there so they can see where they are in space if they choose to do so. I also use it, but we do a lot of assessing on the table. So I use that as an assessment. If they want to see, you can feel how your body's changing, but sometimes visual people really need to see the results. So all they have to do is open their eyes and they can see the progress of their stretching. So what I do, and it's different from some people, is I can get into the joints. So joints is where most of the gunk resides. So with oscillation, with gentle traction, and with circumduction, that I get into the joints. And then go to the neuromyofascial systems. We work from the shorter joints and then work peripherally or distally from the joint and work out. So we've got oscillation, we've got traction, and then we also have circumduction. So it really feels like it's a massage within your body. And that's how some clients put that. So I also use straps. So I have straps on my table, and what that does a couple of things. It keeps the pelvis from moving, but it also keeps you. Remember, I said we do a lot of moving around the table. It also sometimes feels like you're going to fall off, so it's a precaution so that you don't fall off the table too. And then love this thing about repatterning muscle. So oftentimes what happens is people, for an injury or atrophy, for being sedentary, sometimes people, for your body, not people, your body will forget how to use a certain muscle. So we do some P&F, which just means that you do a little work on the table, not work, relaxation work, okay? So just a little bit of pushing with your breathing. But what that does is it reminds your muscle how it's supposed to work and what kind of job it's supposed to do. So I think my time is almost up. I think it's 10:20. That's awesome. Okay, so I'm just going to go over to a couple minutes. Is 2 minutes. Okay. So this is one of my clients. I had an 82-year-old woman come to me, and I worked with her for a couple of years. I was blessed to have her as a client. But anyways, she was 82. She never did any intentional exercise before. And her husband coaxed her into seeing me. And it was probably about a couple months later, because she did go through a little bit of pain and discomfort. I'm gonna say discomfort, not pain. But we had some work to do. But it was about the second or third month, and I'm sitting across from her, and I seen her shake her head, and she goes, "You know what, Sherry?" She says, "I just can't wrap my head around how this works. I come in here, and I'm tired, and I'm sore, I'm hurt." But she says, "But when we're done, I am energized. I have no more pain, and I feel like facing my day. How does that work?" And I said, "Liz, it's FST. You set it free. Once your body knows how to really work properly, you can be pain free and be able to live your life moving with fluid and fluidity and no pain." And that's what everybody should have. Thank you guys. Thank you for listening.